Women, what do you think would be the worst thing about being a man? Story 1. I thought this article hit some of the highlights. Crossing the divide, do men really have it easier? Here are some examples. I emphasize the parts that leaped out at me, excerpts. Tristan Cotton, 50, Barclay, California. A couple of years after my transition, I had a grad student I'd been mentoring. She started coming on to me, stalking me, sending me emails and texts. My advisor and the deans are both women, so I laughed it off. Morgan, it went on for a better part of a year, and that was the year that I was going up for tenure. It was a very scary time. I felt very worried that if the student felt I was not returning her attention, she would claim that I had assaulted her. I felt like, as a guy, I was not taken seriously. I had experienced harassment as a female person at another university, and they had reacted immediately, sending a police escort with migrant from campus. I felt like if I had been in my old body, I would have gotten a lot more support. Orban Xander Cake, 52, San Diego, California. Prior to my transition, I was an outspoken radical feminist. I spoke up often, loudly, and with confidence. I was encouraged to speak up. I was given awards for my efforts. Literally said it was like, oh yeah, speak up, speak out. Or then when I speak up now, I'm often given the direct or indirect message that I am mad spinning, taking up too much space, or asserting my white male heterosexual privilege. I do notice that some women do expect me to acquiesce or concede to them more now. Let them speak first, let them board the bus first, let them sit down first, and so on. What continues to like me as a significant reduction in friendliness and kindness now extended to me in public spaces. And now feels as though I am on my own. No one outside of family and close friends is paying attention to my well-being. I can recall a moment where this difference hit home. A couple of years into my medical gender transition, I was traveling on a public bus early one weekend morning. There were 6 people on the bus, including me. One was a woman. She was talking on a mobile phone very loudly and remarked that many are such as saw holes. Tony immediately looked up at her and then surrounded the other man. No one had lifted his head to look at the woman or anyone else. The woman saw me look at her and then commented to the person she was speaking with about some a-holes on the bus right now looking at me. Tanya was stunned because I recall being in similar situations, but in reverse. Many times, a man would say or do something deemed obnoxious or offensive, and I would find solidarity with the women around me as we made eye contact, rolled our eyes, and maybe even commented out loud on the situation. I'm not sure I understand why the men did not respond, but it made a lasting impression on me. Chris Edwards, 49, Boston, Massachusetts. The hormones made me more impatient. I had lots of female friends, and one of the qualities they loved about me was that I was a great listener. So after being on testosterone, they informed me that my listening skills weren't what they used to be. Here's an example. I'm driving with one of my best friends, Beth, and I ask her as your sister is meeting us for dinner. 10 minutes later, she's still talking, and I still have no idea if her sister is coming. So finally, I couldn't take it anymore. And I snapped at him and said, is she coming or not? Videos, Raising Cain, exploring the inner lives of American boys. This is documentary excerpt of description. This 2-hour documentary provides surprising new research about boys' inner workings, dispelling a number of commonly held misconceptions, and highlights innovative programs that are bringing out the best in boys, Self-Made Man, One Woman's Year Disguised as a Man, also a book. Podcasts, The Lonely American Man, This American Life, 220 Testosterone. This podcast was fantastic. Articles are women more emotionally intelligent than men. Male mentorship and social media. Men have no friends and women bear the burden. Warning to guys, the first half of the article can be rage-inducing because it's like it's saying even when men are suffering, women are still the bigger victims. If you want to skip that on that article page, do a Control+F for Scott Shepard and start reading from there. How Men Are Forming Men's Support Groups, Books, Deep Secrets, Boys, Friendships, and the Crisis of Connection by Niobe Way. Why Men Are the Way They Are by Dr. Warren Farrell. Raising Cain, Protecting the Emotional Life of Boys by Dan Kinlan and Michael Thompson. Basis for the documentary are linked above me. A few more. Disclaimer, I don't necessarily agree with the conclusions, but the articles did give food for thought. A Cold War Fought by Women, excerpt. Stigmatizing female promiscuity, aka S-shaming, has often been blamed on men who have a Darwinian incentive to discourage their spouses from straying. Dr. Avon Court said the experiment and other research subjects, the stigma is enforced mainly by women. Intercourse is coveted by men. He said accordingly, women limit access to it as a way of maintaining advantage of the negotiation of this resource. Women who make sex too readily available compromise the power-holding position of a group, which is why many women are particularly intolerant of women who are or seem to be promiscuous. Scientific American, Men and Women Can't Just Be Friends, excerpt. As a result, men overestimated the level of attraction felt by their female friends, and women consistently underestimated the level of attraction felt by their male friends, then lose their minds speaking to pretty women. Excerpt: psychologist at Rabouw University in the Netherlands carried out the study after one of them was so struck on impressing an attractive woman he had never met before that he could not remember his address when she asked him where he lived. Psychologist Dr. George Fieldman, a member of the British Psychological Study, said the findings affect the fact that men are programmed to think about ways to pass on their games. When a man meets a pretty woman, he is what we called reproductively focused, the phenomenon of maid copying and how it affects our romantic choices. Excerpt: due to this asymmetry, mate coupling is more common among females than males. In study where women are asked to weight the attractiveness of photographs of men posed with a female part, no versus alone, men pictured with a partner are generally considered more attractive. This finding has been replicated when participants view speed dating footage, control the individual characteristics men perceived to be more successful than the process were favored over those that were not. 2. A caveat for these findings is that meat chopping appeared to only occur if the male's previous female partner is considered attractive. In other words, men are considered more attractive only if their previous partner is regarded as beautiful. In socially monogamous societies, most men will become partnered at some point. A man with a highly physical attractive partner may have something desirable that a man with a less physically attractive partner does not, if only gender differences in intimate regret, except the 3 biggest regrets of women were, in descending order, losing their virginity with the wrong partner, cheating on a partner, and letting relationships progress to intercourse too quickly. The 3 most common male regrets were being too shy to indicate intimate attraction to someone, not being intimately adventurous enough in their youth, and not being adventurous enough during their single days. Surprisingly, one of the common regrets amongst women related to having intercourse with a non-attractive partner. A partner's physical attractiveness is commonly thought of as a male preoccupation, but apparently when it comes to casual intercourse, women tend to raise the attractiveness bar for agreement. I'll have a one-night stand with someone, but only if he looks like George Clooney, while men tend to lower it. It's just a one-nighter. Who cares if she looks like George Clooney? Wow. That was a massive information dump of excerpts from various documentaries and articles, and frankly, all of that information is, that was a lot to take in. But I think what we have all found out is that, people are complicated? Story 2. Relationships. Get a date with a woman, finding an SO, or even just hooking up with a woman. It all seems like bullcrap for men. Men are expected to initiate the conversation most of the time, and yet I've known women who will accept dates with men they have zero interest in just to get a free meal out of it. I've known women who want men to approach them, but if the man is unattractive to her, she calls them creepy or mocks them for it. Sure, not all women are like this, but you know what happens when I approach a man who isn't interested in me? He says, "No, thank you." I could easily get a one-night stand if I wanted to. Yeah, if people know about it, I might be called demeaning things or people trying to shame me for it. But I just think about the time a man approaches a woman in an elevator, gets turned down, and the next day there are news articles about how men shouldn't make women uncomfortable and that conferences need to make an effort to make safe spaces for women. Men are shamed for their intimacy and no one gives a crap. A man who is unhappy in a relationship because he doesn't get to have intercourse as often as he would like gets to hear how no one owes you intercourse up and down. He's seen as a piece of crap for even considering leaving the relationship for it. But if I'm unhappy in a relationship for any reason, people will happily back me or take my side, including if it's about intercourse. While there are people who will shame women about their intimacy, there are just as many people who will try to empower women for being intimate. Men? Nah, you're all pigs, potential arists, creeps, and predators. The double standard with parenthood. This is going into the SO route and relates to hookups. A woman gets pregnant and doesn't want to have a baby, she can get an abortion. She can give the child up for adoption, and in some states she can do the adoption route or even abandonment without the man's permission. And a woman who gets an abortion or adoption, well, her body is her choice. But what about the man? A woman gets pregnant and he doesn't want to have the baby? He's a deadbeat. If she keeps the baby, your money is tied to her and the child for years, and you're the deadbeat for even considering anything different. Not only that, but if a man doesn't want to support a kid, then don't have intercourse is often said in discussion about this, even though the same effing line is used against women by pro-lifers. It's a gross double standard and a dangerous one, making intercourse and relationships are more tricky for men. It doesn't help that women have a huge variety of contraceptive options available to them, and men only have one that isn't permanent. Marriage is tricky for men, with how easy it is for a woman to leave a marriage and claim a bunch of assets, sometimes get alimony and take the children, Why are men risking marriage? Yes, not every marriage is so clean-cut, and sometimes the woman is making sacrifices herself, which could make it difficult for her to get back onto her feet after a divorce, but come on. Women aren't helpless, delicate flowers anymore. Women aren't solely reliant on their husbands and will be devastated after a divorce, at least not in the United States. And I acknowledge this as someone who is married to a man. Lack of support for those who end up in abusive relationships. Abuse can come from either person. Men can be hard and abused too, but there are so few options out there for men who need help, in addition to people often saying or joking about how he probably deserved it, or that he's being weak. ETA, since apparently I need to make it clear, yes, I am female, I was born female, I'm not a trans woman, even though I have commented in trans subs. It's weird to me that some of you find it hard to believe that a woman could be behind this response, but hey, now you know why I use assume I'm not. Though having people assuming I'm a trans woman is a new one for me. There's a lot here, and frankly, I'm not so full of myself that I won't admit that I don't have all the answers. There are points here that I think are tricky, and I would recommend reading up on. I think a lot of these imbalances exist to counteract a history of women being second class and dealing with many societal expectations and pressures put on them that have lingered from times of greater inequality. There are too many points here for me to touch on all of them, and like I said, I'm not an expert. The best I can tell you all is to seek out experts and listen. Listen as much as you can and try to learn. Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a Story 3. Imagine pretty much being invisible. You get your self-worth from how well you perform at work. Perform good and you're okay day to day. Start performing bad and you want to kill yourself because your only interaction with people is now negative. Nobody cares about you, nobody messages you, and when someone calls, they want something from you. No, I don't mind helping, but damn, call me up for a beer or some camping too sometime. The hardest part is when it is only family. Your friends are gone, so you always answer for your family because it's what you do. But it's always, hey man, how was your Memorial Day, if even asked. Hey, Kylie is moving this weekend to college and we'd like to try and get it done in one shot. Are you busy Saturday? Oh, you work? Oh, well, okay, are you free Sunday? Cool, well, can you come Sunday then? We'd love to see ya. We miss you so much, you never come out and see us. And you agree because you don't see them because they all get together on Saturday while you work, so now you feel bad for working and now you lose your day off from being bossed around and unpaid by people who always invite you to crap that happens on Saturday. That makes you feel bad about it, so now you're the a-hole while all of this happens, while you're carrying the 1,200-pound Bowflex that hasn't been used in the family for 5 years up 5 flights of stairs. None of these people wished you happy birthday last year. Edit. Well, I live in Idaho. Seems like I have some friends that would like to drink beer and go camping. Hit me up. I'll bring meat and fire, let's get drunk, then tomorrow on our way pick some trash leftovers at other camps because we pack in and pack out. Honestly, this has not at all been my experience as a man, but I've known other men who have dealt with something like this. I wonder what leads to this kind of life and interaction. Is it something society is putting on us or something that we work ourselves into? I'm genuinely curious and would love to hear what you all in the comments have experienced because this really does fascinate me. Story 4. Emotional unavailability of others. As a woman, I definitely face a lot of hardships that men don't have to deal with, but when I'm on my point of breaking, sobbing, and inconsolable, I know I can message one of my friends, usually one of the girls, and cry and be to them about it, and they will listen to me and really connect with me. They will tell me how crappy the person who did that is, how difficult it must be to deal with, how strong I am for persevering in the face of adversity. On the other hand, I've spent my life trying to be a non-judgmental source of venting for my male friends, and I found that basically everyone who I'm like that with ends up either thinking I'm into them romantically or expressing how grateful they are for something they get so little of. Guys are told to just suck it up and push their emotions down, and I think it's harmful to all of us. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.